more visible new features in C++11. This gives C++ a simple way of iterating over the elements of a container, an operation that used to take quite a bit of code. Let's make a working copy of 4.cpp, and we'll paste this into our working project and open it here in the editor. And we will compile and run this. And so here I'm defining an integer array with 10 elements and a vector that I'm initializing from the integer array. So it's got exactly the same elements in it. And there on lines 10, 11, and 12, you'll see a for loop that looks quite a bit different than what we might have been used to in the past. Using the same for keyword, it has a different syntax inside the parentheses. You'll notice the colon. On the left-hand side of the colon is a variable that gets initialized with each element of the container on the right. So you have the container on the right, and you have the element on the left. And so as we loop through the container, I becomes, in this case, a copy of each element in the array. And you'll notice the same syntax on lines 15 through 17 for the integer vector defined in line 8. In this case, we're actually making a copy of the elements. We can actually make references to the elements like this. Both of these for loops are iterating through references to the elements, so I represents an element actually in the array. So if I do this, I'm going to put these back, and I'm going to create another for loop before this using the reference, and I'm going to just increment I throughout that loop. And I'm going to do the same thing down here for the integer vector. But in this one, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to say I times equals 5. And now we'll loop through these arrays and actually change the values in the array by referencing the actual elements with references, and then we'll list out what's in them. So we'll compile and run this, and there you see our first array is now 2 through 11 because we've incremented each element in the array. And our second one counts by 5s, 5 through 50, by multiplying each element in the array. There's a couple of other interesting ways that you can use this. You can iterate through an initializer list like this, and that will just print out 1 through 5 down there. So here we haven't even defined a container. We're just using a temporary container provided by this initializer list. Of course, this is a constant, and so references are not valid here. And in fact, you can even use this with a list of objects. So let's copy over animals.cpp and HPP. We'll paste them into our working project. I'm just going to open them up here, and we can look at them real quick. These are just the animal classes that I used in the inheritance chapter. So that's animals.cpp, and this is animals.hpp. And over here in the CPP file is the implementation. So now I can come in here. Let's import the header first. And then I can come down here and I can declare some dogs. We'll call this one Arnie. And dog B will be Barky. And dog C will be not a cat. So now we have 3 dogs, A, B, and C. And I can do this. I can say for dog. And I need to use a pointer here because I can't use a reference because I'm declaring this as an initializer list, and that makes it a constant, right? And so this makes it a little bit more efficient. So we'll just do it this way here like that. And for each one of these, I'm just going to say dspeak. And so when I compile this and run it, there they are. Arnie the dog says woof, Barky the dog says woof, and not a cat the dog says woof. So you see we can even just step through an initializer list of objects using the new for loop. So again, this doesn't work with references because the initializer list is treated as a constant object, but it works great with pointers. So the range-based for loop provides a simple and effective solution for iterating over the elements of a container. It works just as well with native arrays, vectors, strings, initializer lists, and anything that supports sequential iterators. Now let's delete our working files, a few of them here.